Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back to my channel, Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer, with you guys, wanting to talk about the Lion's Gate and the activation around the vibrations during this time. Now, the Lion's Gate really begins around about the 26th of July. And so it's already started because today is the 1st of August for here in this part of the world, for me at least. And the activation period is strongest between 26th of July and 12th of August, and naturally the 8th of August being the peak of this activation period. Now, I want to just touch on a couple of things. First of all, this Lion's Gate portal or activation zone, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. It's basically reflected through the star Sirius appearing to be closest to the Earth during this time of the year. Also very close to the galactic center. And it's in terms of fixed stars, astrological fixed stars in the heavens, which is what Sirius is, which is, by the way, very much associated with ancient Egypt culture, and also very much connected to the goddess Isis as well. The fixed star Sirius is actually one of the brightest stars in the night sky, apart from our own sun, which is a star as well. The fact that it's the brightest star is why it has just so much incredible power to it, spiritual power. It's also known as our spiritual sun, if you like. So the vibration that it contains, that it holds, is very, very high activated spiritual solar energy that's coming through very close to the Earth, and therefore opening up a portal for all of humanity, for all beings to actually step into and clear, activate, receive, download. There's a number of things that you can be doing during this time. It's a very, very special time. Before I go on to that, a few points about that. I just want to say that the fixed star Sirius is basically known to make the mundane, the everyday stuff of life. It has the ability to turn it into what's sacred, right? That's literally the meaning to the fixed star Sirius. It's the ability to make the mundane sacred, and that's according to Bernadette Brady's work as well, in terms of how she labels it. It was also known as the scorcher or the shining one. So it holds an incredibly powerful vibration, needless to say. During this time, it's very interesting because, we have a new moon in Leo today. Now, last year, during this Lion's Gate being activated, because it happens every single year, but obviously every single year it's going to bring different experiences depending on where we are on our evolution as well. I've got to be honest, this particular vibration and energy, it's, I think if people are approaching it very much from a selfish standpoint, if you like, in terms of what I can get, what I can receive, what I can activate for myself, I think we're kind of missing the point there. Even though this gateway opens this portal for all of us to access, it's not about thinking about it just for our own selfish means and desires. It's more about thinking about activating greater vibration within our own self to release more of the lower astral fears and difficulties and pains and sufferings and the cycle of suffering and pain, all those things. But not just to make ourselves feel better, as it were, because happiness is a fluctuating experience in life. You could feel happy today and you could feel really unhappy tomorrow. So it's not something you can hold on to. So this is not about that superficial kind of happiness that really is fleeting and comes and goes. It's much more about deeper states of actually receiving pure white light, receiving codes of activation, receiving diamond crystal light into your DNA, in order to wake you up further, to help you on your ascension path, to clear, long cycles of karmic debris that you may be hanging on to. So it's not about, the point I'm trying to make is that it's not about trying to seek external sort of rewards or results through this, but it's more about your own spiritual elevation and development, and how is that actually benefiting humanity and the earth overall, and obviously everyone around you and yourself, of course. But it's not a selfish based type of desire, is what I'm trying to say. So if people are approaching it from the level of, what I can activate and manifest in my own life, it can have I don't think it's going to work. And the Fixed Star series is also about small actions which can lead to big consequences. So that can go, in two different directions, right? It's very much about the intentions behind it. During this time, if you are on, your own spiritual path, or whatever that looks like for you, then this is just an incredibly potent time to be working with your spiritual body, with your pineal gland, your third eye, and your heart chakra. We're talking about the Leo vibration. The sun and moon are in Leo. Venus is in Leo. Mars is in Leo. The asteroid goddess Juno is in Leo. This whole gateway that opens up happens while the sun's in Leo, and it just so happens that all these other planets are in Leo at the same time. So the entry point and the access point to this is through our heart chakra. Now, just one other thing I wanted to say, because of the alignment that occurs during this time, and because Sirius appears to be closer to the Earth, and because of its magnitude of spiritual solar energy, light, vibration, divinity really coming through it, and because everything is in Leo, more or less, well, so many planets are in Leo, then it has a direct link to our heart center, to our heart chakra. Now, you can be working with the traditional 7 chakra system, or you could be working with 12, 14, 21. It depends, what teachings you apply to how you work with your whole chakra system. But whichever system you work with, the heart center, the heart chakra is there for all the different chakra activation points that people use. The heart center is there. And as I've said before, and this is not my personal line, this is Steve Nobel's line, and I hear it frequently in his transmissions that I listen to pretty much every night. The heart is the gateway to the soul. So this is very, very, very powerful spiritual energy to uplift us and to raise our frequency, to lift us from the mundane. This is the fixed star that creates from the mundane. It makes everything sacred, as it were. So it's not about material gain, material recognition, sort of external personality-based stuff, succeeding, making money, getting this job, or whatever the case. It's not about that 3D material plane. It's really about activating your light body, your spiritual body, your pineal gland, right? So this is what needs to be the understanding and the focus on. So during this time, if you are, if you're a person who practices meditations or transmissions, activations, and things like that, this is just a really powerful, potent time of the year to amp that up. And you can do this every single year, but obviously it's going to be a different experience depending on what's going on in your life. If you work with archangels or spirit guides, working with your higher self, connecting to spirit, this is the time to do it. So if you are practicing meditations, and I highly recommend that when you sit down to do your practice during this period, really, it actually started 5th of July when the sun was right there next to Sirius, right? So that's when in my opinion, that's when this energy really starts to kick off. So we've more or less got this vibration happening through most of July and through the first couple of weeks of August. So it's a fair amount of time to give us the opportunity to step into this space pretty much on a daily basis. I think we need to do it daily. So it's about sitting down and having that consciousness and awareness and intention of what you're wanting to receive. So, in order to receive, we have to have an open heart to begin with, and we have to have that intention. Now, getting through that heart center, if someone's holding on to a lot of 3D type of fears, and not suggesting that pain or fear or suffering or anxiety or any of those things are not real for people. Of course they are, but those 3D fear-based experiences, they really clog the heart. They really block the heart center, and it's very hard for anything to penetrate through there, so that you can actually receive these light codes or this beautiful love energy, right? Because that's what this is about. This is Leo. What does Leo do? It rules the heart. Quite apart from it being, confident, inspiring, encouraging, passionate, creative, all those things. Fundamentally, it rules the heart. It's the heart center. And it's the heart center that opens us up to anything possible regarding our spiritual experiences and spiritual life and world. So it's a very, very powerful time, as I said. In amongst all of this, astrologically speaking, we have Saturn, Pluto, Chiron, Jupiter, and Neptune all retrograde. Now, we have a square between Venus and Uranus, which is in effect right now as I speak, and will really be exact tomorrow, but the energy of that has been building up and will continue to be experienced over the next few days as well. That within itself creates a lot of issues around the desire to be free and to be liberated in what might be considered stale, limiting, inhibiting relationships with people. So that's going to bring up those sorts of issues. Now, Mercury is stationary direct today and goes direct in a couple of days' time. And it's still at a really crucial point in its retrograde cycle. Even though it goes direct in a day or so, we're still going to be in its shadow, which is a period that we experience leading up to the retrograde period and post the retrograde period. So don't expect things to be 100% clear from that mercurial level. Now, I personally have been experiencing so many Mercury retrograde issues, just the normal, typical stuff, emails not going through, files that I've attached not going through, half file going through, appointments being mixed up, just the usual stuff. It's actually been doing my head in quite a bit because I've been so busy, and this constant back and forth of things not being clear or whatever. Anyway, it's been a funny Mercury retrograde cycle, just from that basic, mundane, earthly sort of stuff. But the other thing that I've personally felt very strongly, and which I wonder how many of you have felt this as well, because the Mercury retrograde has been the sign of Cancer, it really has taken us back to past, past emotional attachments as well. Really a real challenge actually to be moving away from perhaps certain people or certain loved ones that we strongly care about, and having to have to sort of review our where we stand in these certain types of relationships with people, needing to be able to take responsibility for our own emotional well-being. I think that's been a big part of this cycle of Mercury being retrograde in Cancer, because Cancer is all about the family, it's about loved ones, it's about caring and nurturing, it's about attachment, emotional attachment. So we've really had to go back and look at all that sort of stuff and get a clearer perspective on where we stand in each relationship that we engage in, and are we being, too clingy or too attached? And because if we are, it's not that that's a bad thing necessarily, but it is it's unhealthy because it doesn't leave us actually taking care of our own emotional body and our own emotional nature. Our own emotional body keeps getting infected by this emotional debris that doesn't even belong to us. So these are things that we really need to consider when Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So those are some of the issues that I feel have come up, and they have come up for me as well. Um, Let me just see what else I wanted to say. So, uh, with this Lions Gateway, now this opening, which is a reflection of the the spiritual world, the spiritual dimensions, and the earth, the veil between them becomes less dense during this time. Now we live in a very, very dense reality. Just take a look around. You know, this reality is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn rules density, and it's very difficult to penetrate through the density of this 3D reality. And we can do it, but we need to be active in our spiritual practices really on a daily basis. But during this time, because everything is the veil between the density of this material plane and these spiritual dimensions is thinner and thinner and thinner, there's the opportunity is so amped up. So it's a really powerful time to take advantage of that. And again, don't forget, it's not about wanting to see, you know, quick, fast results, right? One thing that I've learned in my personal life experiences, and specifically through astrology, is that there's a couple of points I want to make here. First of all, a particular remedy or method or approach that you may choose for yourself for something in your life. Let's just say that it works and it works wonderfully, and it ends up giving you some kind of healing for something that's could be a physical ailment, could be some, you know, medical condition. It could be a number of different things in terms of the physical. Now, that may work for you, but the same technique, principles, healing remedy, and so forth may not work for the person standing right next to you, has the mirror sort of image of what appears to be going on in your life. So, what I'm trying to say about that is that different things work for different people. Now, you're probably all thinking, well, duh. Well, it is an important point, because this just reinforces that two things. One thing is that we need to explore for ourselves what actually resonates with our own frequency, you know, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. And we also need to understand, which is very, very hard from the personality level, because the personality just wants instant gratification. It wants instant results. You know, it's that drive, that desire to push out there for whatever it wants. That's the nature of the personality. And that has its place at times, and that can result in people, you know, achieving a lot of different goals and, you know, all that sort of stuff. I know that. But when it comes to certain things in our life, it is really a case of timing. The timing factor is the most crucial component in our evolutionary journey. And the timing factor is so beautifully reflected through the astrology, the you know, the cosmic energies. So you you may feel that you're, you know, really ready for something to transition into something. And I'll just use a basic mundane example. You could be going for this job tomorrow, right? And you know, you've psyched yourself up. You're going to get this job. You're ready for it. It's the best thing for you. And you go to the interview and you don't get the job, and there's this incredible sense of disappointment, you know, number of different emotions that come streaming through. I understand that, right? But what we need to understand, even in those mundane sorts of experiences, there's a timing factor involved. The soul has its own timing, very different to the personality and its perception of timing and what it wants, because it essentially wants it when it wants it. That's just personality. But the soul has its own timing. in terms of its evolution and what it actually needs to step into and develop more and become more aware of, more conscious of, and so forth. So astrology, in terms of transits, progressions, other techniques as well, really reflect the timing of things opening up for us. Now, why am I highlighting this? I'm highlighting it because of this, because we have this portal, this Lion's Gate, which is also known as the gateway to heaven. It's the most beautiful, sacred energy flooding through, you know, the divine, that the spiritual sun, Sirius, straight into our being. We've got to open our heart, though. It's got to be activated through that heart center. And if we are, again, with it, if we are wanting, these faster results, even in terms of our own ascension, the soul has a timing with our own ascension process as well. The personality and the soul, usually in most people, are operating at totally different ends of the spectrum. So this whole issue, which I've spoken about in many different videos, whether it's a monthly forecast or whether it's in videos where I've taught certain astrological themes and so forth, I always make reference to the personality and the soul, because the alignment of the two is a mirror and a reflection of having a greater sense of, how can I put it, a greater ability to understand the importance of timing, right? Because personality wants it and it wants it now. The soul says, no, not right now. You have to wait. So even with this process of, the earth receiving a flood of this beautiful, beautiful light-coded energy that can advance our spiritual growth, that can activate and open our heart center and heart chakra in ways that are extremely powerful during this time, it is important again to remember that there's a timing even with this process. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you might be meditating every single day, for the last couple of weeks and the next 2 weeks moving forward, and you might have all these wonderful, clear intentions of what you wish to receive out of this very powerful period due to this Lion's Gate, right? And you may not see immediate results, and you may become frustrated with your journey or your process or your effort or your intentions and think, well, why is nothing happening for me? Why isn't this opening up in the way that I expected or wanted? Well, that's the ego, that's the personality, wanting results immediately. So it's really about recognizing, first of all, subtle things and shifts that are actually occurring. And these subtle things that shift and change and transform are usually inside, they're internal. But it takes a lot of practice and intuition and inner standing to be able to recognize these subtle shifts as well. Because the subtle shifts that occur, whether they are subtle or more intense, they will then reflect the changes outside of you. So it comes back to that same thing which I've said through many videos. It's what's going on inside here that's going to determine what you see and experience out there. It always comes back to that. So even in this process of really taking advantage of this incredible spiritual energy during these few weeks, and particularly around the 8th of August, which is the peak, I think the best way to approach it, in my opinion, is to be really open, really receptive, leaving your heart open as much as you possibly can, and trusting the process. You have to trust the divine spiritual plan and process that's actually in play for you, because it is different for me, it is different for you, and different for every single person on the planet. So we must stay very connected and centered to the understanding of that. That is that there's timing, there's subtleties. This is not about the personality and ego out there, external achievements. This is about an inner, deep soul activation that can sort of speed up, if you like, our evolutionary process from a spiritual level. So it's got nothing to do with what's going on out there. I think that's a really important point. And And just with the example that I was giving before about a person going for a job, and they don't get the position, and they're left heartbroken and all that sort of stuff. 5 years later or 2 years later, that person can go for that same job and boom, they land the position. Why? Because it's timing. It's all about timing. This is the beauty of this absolute gorgeous wisdom that's been gifted to us through the divine astrology. It can enable us to actually be so much more in touch with the timing of our soul's path, evolution, and intentions. So if we can bring that alignment of our personality closer to our soul, then we can have an experience that is, first of all, authentic, more aligned, and I think there can be less pain and suffering, because there's a greater understanding and understanding of the external circumstances that are taking place. A lot of external things that take place, they just come and go. Like I said about happiness earlier, happiness it's a fleeting thing. You can't control happiness. You can't grab happiness in your hands and say, right, you're going to stay here with me. I want to be happy every single day. It doesn't work like that. So we have to be able to receive, open, and let go, and trust that process, whatever it is for all of us. So that's my message about this Lionsgate activation. And I think when you're working with meditation practices and techniques as well during this time, a lot of conscious effort should be directed to your heart center, your heart chakra, and your third eye, your pineal gland. This is a time where these energy centers can really open up. And just one final thing, bear in mind that whatever is downloading, whatever you are receiving, whatever you are absorbing, it's in light codes. It's not in language that we understand through our left brain and can point to and can speak in language. It's a very subtle spiritual experience and activation. So we have to allow that to come in, and then give it time to be absorbed into our DNA, into our light body, into our heart center. And as this absorption begins and starts to become integrated in our entire being, then we are more likely to start seeing the results of what it is that we have received during this very, very beautiful, sacred, magical time of this Lionsgate. And I'm highlighting this because I know that a lot of people, would have these specific intentions and are wanting to manifest this and manifest that, and if they don't see, with the physical eyes, what they're wanting or the result they're wanting, then it can leave people feeling quite disheartened, and disillusioned and angry, and whatever the case may be. So we just have to be really, really careful to understand that sacred energy, sacred space, sacred light, sacred information, these things integrating into our being have nothing to do with the external 3D reality. So we must find a way to have that relationship with what's being activated from an inner space. And by doing that, we can then start to see the results that may manifest on an external level. Okay, I think I'll leave it there for today. Just also keep in mind that, July we had 2 eclipses, one solar, one lunar. And this new moon that occurs today is really, it's almost like we had two new moons in 1 month, because of the timing of it is so close to the 31st of July, right? So, and for some people, it will be the 31st of July. So therefore, we've had two new moons in 1 month. That's a um, pretty powerful energy taking place just in the month of July for that reason as well. And don't forget, with solar and lunar eclipses, the energies of what those eclipses have triggered off are yet to even be seen. For some people, they may have already seen things happen, because with solar eclipses especially, they tend to bring up events, external events that we can literally identify and pinpoint to and understand. It's the energy of the eclipse that has brought it up. Naturally, with these new moons and full moons, and or eclipses, it's always very important to locate where the new moon is going to be in your birth chart, where the full moon is going to be in your birth chart. Is it aspecting any planets in your chart? These added layers are going to give you the narrative of what you are actually working with. So it is important to pay attention to that. And while you're paying attention to all of that, then think about, especially this new moon in Leo, which I've done a whole other video about, so you can check that one out if you want more information about the new moon in Leo. And it was a video just before this one, so please watch that one to get more information if you're interested in understanding my perspective on the new moon in Leo, and from an esoteric level as well, because it's very much connected to Jupiter as well. On an esoteric level. What was I going to say? Just lost track. Yeah, so this new moon in Leo I think is going to be, wherever it lands in your chart, I think that is the area that you really need to integrate into your practice of meditation or receiving light codes, information, whatever words you want to use, doesn't matter. Everyone's going to be receiving this energy. Some people are going to be a lot more aware of it, a lot more conscious, a lot more tuned in, but this energy is affecting the entire earth plane and every single being on it, including the animal kingdom, everything, So there's an uplifting from a very high vibratory level spiritually for the entire earth plane. It's not just for me or just for you, but for absolutely everything in the beautiful sacred Mother Earth that we live on as well. So it's a very, very powerful energy. Now, this new moon, wherever it lands in your chart, because it's in Leo, and this is the Leo Lion's gate, gateway to heaven, sacred energy, making the mundane sacred. That's what this is all about. Look at where that new moon lands, because that's going to give you some clue as to where you could really activate this, first of all, this new moon, and an area of life that you may want to really sort of focus on as well when you're doing your practices regarding the opening of the Lion's Gate energy. Not from a try to think of it not from a level of gain, personal gain, but a level of if the moon's in your first house, or the moon's in your second house, or that new moon lands in your third, it's going to land in one house of your birth chart, right? Try to find some sort of higher reflection or meaning of that third house, because it's there. There's spiritual higher reflective meanings of each house, especially when you're looking at them on an esoteric level. So again, it's not about personal gain. So try to see, where is it so if it lands in the seventh, for example, right, which is the house of relationships. It's not the only house of relationships, but it's one of the main houses of relationships. So instead of thinking, I want to be in a relationship, I want a relationship, or, why am I not in a relationship? Those sorts of statements are not going to bring you a relationship. Again, it's a case of timing. So, but with the new moon, landing in the seventh house, that's like planting a seed of what you wish to start intending about your relationships. How much, what sort of, how can you activate more light into the area of relationships so that you can be, a conduit of light in the relationship within yourself, first of all, and the relationship with others, so that you can actually bring through, higher levels of exchange of energy, as opposed to the lower levels, which would be, being possessive, being jealous, being secretive, being controlling, being judgmental, um, you know, expectations, all that lower astral stuff, which exists for everyone in different relationships. Um, so how could you perhaps soften all of that with this new moon in Leo, and how could you bring through this beautiful heart energy into the world of relationships for you? That's just an example of how you can think about the new moon in Leo in whatever area of your chart it lands. It's just about bringing through higher codes of energy and vibration and understanding for your own evolution and growth. Okay. Um, yep. Okay. So I've covered it all, I think, for today. I'll be back soon with a forecast for the month of August. I'm running a little bit behind, so just bear with me because I've got a lot of work on. Thank you to all new subscribers and to all of you, really, all of you, every single one of you. I appreciate all the love that you guys pour with your absolutely beautiful, heart-centered messages. Your love and appreciation is it's beyond appreciated by me, and not just me as in my ego, my personality, like you're stroking my ego. It's really appreciated from my heart and my soul. Like it really touches me very, very deeply when I receive so much love from you guys, and I immediately, I give it back to you as soon as I read your message, and I don't necessarily reply to those messages. I just do the love thing, I give you a little love heart. That's just to show you that I love and appreciate every single one of you. So I'll be back soon, guys, sending you all much love and blessings, and really do take the opportunity to elevate your frequency during this time, because after this time, this spiritual force will not be as accessible or available to us. Now, you might be going, just sorry, one last point. You might be going through a really tough time in your life, right? Um, and I know it's really hard when you've got a lot of pain in your heart through a particular situation you're working through. And I can resonate with that. I can feel that myself because of my experience with my dad leaving. Even though it's been 2 years, the the pain in my heart is it's just as intense as it was 2 years ago. But I've just I've had to do a lot of work um, to bring more love and healing to my heart center. So, even though I too am working with these beautiful energies, and I have been, especially this last week, I haven't really had much to do with anybody in my life, including my own family members. I've just really laid low. I've spent a lot of time on my own, and I've been doing just a lot of meditation practices. Yoga Nidra. If you haven't heard of Yoga Nidra, I highly recommend it. I won't bother explaining it all to you now because this video will become super long. But look into Yoga Nidra. It's a very powerful practice if you have anxiety, depression, or sleep issues. Very, very powerful practice. I used to teach it to um, clients that I worked. I worked in a psychiatric facility a few years ago, and I was taking people through that practice who had the most severe mental health issues that you can imagine, like really, really severe schizophrenia, bipolar, the whole thing. But that experience of yoga nidra and other practices of meditation even helped people who unfortunately do experience severe mental distress. So I really encourage yoga nidra, obviously meditation practices and so on and so forth. And yeah, and I've been doing a lot of that myself lately. I've been doing yoga nidra every day. I've been doing transmissions at night, and then I've just been doing some other sort of grounding, centering type of practices. Because of, I'm just like you, I've got things going on, I go through hard times, we all do, right? So we're all dealing with different things. And I too, need to be very conscious of that myself as well. And when I feel myself getting too involved in the 3D reality, and getting pushed and pulled in different directions, I withdraw and I come back to my little sacred space here, and I make sure that I am removed from 3D reality. And that's my way of doing a lot of healing work and sort of centering myself again. And see, Mars in the 12th house, which is what I have, which is an extremely difficult place for Mars. But the most beneficial things of that Mars for me, the absolute passion and energy that I put into my spiritual life. It's like the spiritual warrior. That's Mars in the 12th. Anyway, that's just a side note for those of you who might have Mars in the 12th. Okay, guys, see you very, very soon. Much love and blessings. And yeah, make the most of this beautiful sacred energy. Okay, thanks for watching, and bye for now.